greetings everyone. I'm Gábor Fuchs, PhD student at Crisis Lab at Budapest University of Technology and Economics. This is actually only my first semester in my PhD, but I've been continuing this research for multiple years now. I did it all along my MSc. Let's break this title a bit down. What are these similarity digest schemes? Similarity digest schemes are often referred to, this is actually a name I kind of invented. They are sometimes referred to as similarity digest algorithms or fuzzy hashes. The reason I don't use the term algorithm because they are more like a pair of algorithms. The first algorithm is actually similar to a hash. It maps an arbitrary input like a file or any other byte sequence to a digest. But the main difference to cryptographic hashes is that in case of cryptographic hashes, really small change results in a completely different hash, while here it is actually a desired property that similar inputs map to similar hashes. And this is actually what enables the second algorithm to decide on how similar or how dissimilar the original inputs were based on their hashes alone. And this is really fast because it doesn't matter the original size of these inputs. Together with the threshold value, with this similarity score or dissimilarity score, difference score, we can make a decision. And why is this useful? Well, there are two large classes of applications, fuzzy blacklisting and fuzzy whitelisting. These are much like traditional blacklisting and whitelisting you could do with cryptographic hashes. But in this case, we don't only reject or accept exact matches to the items on our list, but approximate matches as well. And this can be good in different applications. For example, in a digital forensics scenario, you can very quickly pre-select interesting artifacts based on them being similar to older interesting artifacts. Or you can actually do malware detection with this technique. If something is similar to a malware, you can consider it as a malware, and this is actually a very successful approach. It's also used for classification, the different clusters, different families of malware. And you can see that all of these applications are fields where we really don't want an attacker to fool these schemes. We don't want an attacker to be able to easily modify a malware in a way that it won't be similar to any other malware anymore. TLSH is one of the most used similarity digest schemes. You might be familiar with it. It's short for 10 microlocality sensitive hash, and it was actually showed to be quite robust against natural or random mutations. The mutations we do in our attacks are really different from these. We really look at how the algorithm works, dive deep into the inner working of the algorithm, and craft inputs based on that to forge hashes, basically. TLSH is used a lot with binary and malware. For example, it's used a lot by VirusTotal. So how does it work? Like really just a bird view of how this works. It reads the input with a sliding window. From every single position of this sliding window, it extracts some features, and it maps each of these features to hash buckets. We actually only store the counts on these buckets, so how many matches were to each of them among these features. And then we get this array of bucket counts, essentially. And this is based on what the digest is constructed in the end. So our past work goes back to actually 2 years ago when we first published the first version of our anti-blacklisting attack. Since then, this is our second paper, which is unfortunately still under submission. That has all of our attacks now, an anti-blacklisting, an anti-whitelisting attack as well. and the generalized attack framework to execute these attacks. And actually, what I am presenting today is an extension of that framework. So these attacks basically work. They try to fool the schemes with minimal modifications. So they usually only change a few percent, like 1 to 10% of the file. They do this in a way that doesn't change the behavior of the sample. We are talking about mostly IoT malware samples. That is our domain. So we make modifications that do not change that are guaranteed not to change the behavior of the malware. And of course, they result in an anomalous difference score. That is the whole point. In case of anti-blacklisting, the result will be a high difference score between the original and the modified versions with only a few percent change. And this usually also means that anything else that the original binary was similar to will not be similar either to the modified version. And in our anti-whitelisting attack, we aim for low difference score. And in an optimal outcome of the attack, we actually achieve a complete similarity digest collision, like a hash collision. Our modified, let's say, malware will have the exact same hash of, for example, as a benign binary. Well, good luck detecting that as malware based on the hash. So our generalized attack process is first we identify areas in the file that we can freely change. This might be interesting, but in these binaries, we measure this on ELF binaries, Linux executables. There are a lot of regions in most files that can be freely modified and are guaranteed not to change the behavior because they are not actually loaded to the memory at all. Then at the second step, we determine our bucket count goals. These are like intervals where we want to put each bucket count of the algorithm, which would guarantee the desired change in the similarity digest we want to achieve. Then as a third step, we actually craft the byte sequences that we want to insert to those modifiable areas. So there's a problem with this approach. And it's a weakness of the attack. It makes the defender's job easy. And that is that we change the content of the file's unused regions. And well, the defender can just the same detect these unused regions and zero them out or just cut them out and use the similarity digest scheme like that. And this is what we are addressing in this paper I am showing you right now. So our solution to this problem is disguising the attack sequences we put into the binary as a legitimate part of the binary. There are multiple options to do this. We took on the challenge to actually disguise it as machine code. To do this, we have to solve two challenges. First, we have to claim some executable space within the binary. What does this mean? Well, the legitimate machine code of the binary is loaded to the memory to executable segments, which, of course, load to executable memory pages. So we somehow need to achieve that our generated sequence gets loaded on executable page just the same. We can achieve these two ways. Either we extend an existing segment or we add a completely new segment. Both of these make some challenges because we can't really change over the all over offsets of whatever is in the memory because we know nothing about the sample we are patching. So to guarantee that we are not breaking it, we must keep all the offsets of the existing parts. To extend the segment, we need some slack spaces. Actually, we only need them in the memory. If there are no slack spaces in the file, that is fine. We can actually add content to the file and make sure that the memory image stays the same by hacking a bit with the mappings between the file content and the memory. And in the second strategy, to add the completely new segment, we need to add a new entry to the so-called program header table of the binary. And well, that is again something hard to do because there is something before this table and there is something after this table, and we can't really move those around. So we have to change an existing entry. But for that, we need a useless entry. Interestingly, sometimes there are useless entries. And when we detect such an entry, we can replace it with our entry of which adds a new segment. This might be good because here we can guarantee any amount of space, as opposed to the where we are filling stack spaces. So the second challenge is to generate the actual attack sequence. We are trying to generate machine code. Again, our scope is IoT malware, so we decided to only generate ARM instructions. But still, this was quite interesting. So in the original framework of attacking TLSH, we had a greedy generation algorithm which decides on each next byte of the attack sequence in a way that moves the bucket counts in the most desired way towards our goals. And we just extended this logic of greedy generation by adding the additional rule that you cannot insert a byte that would make it impossible for that instruction. These are 4-byte instructions which are aligned to 4 bytes, so it's always we have a concrete 4-byte selection. If a byte would make it impossible for that to be a valid instruction, we reject it and step back in the backtracking algorithm. Okay, so we evaluated our results in our framework by trying to patch 2,000 ARM malware samples. For the anti-blacklisting, we went for a threshold. Again, anti-blacklisting means that we change the file in a way that its hash becomes different from the original version. And this difference can be guaranteed to different values in our framework. We use this value of 86, which is a value recommended by the authors of TLSH specifically for binaries. And in the anti-whitelisting case, we went for almost total hash collisions with the GCC compiler of the same architecture. So a well-known benign. With the extending strategy, we were actually successful in 84% of the cases with the anti-blacklisting attack, which is a much easier attack. And even in the much harder attack, which completely creates almost complete hash collision is made with GCC, even there, 72% of the cases were successful. Well, and a lot of the failed cases were because of really weird malware files with completely illegal segments, and some segments loading stuff from after the end of the file, some segments overlapping, etc. With the new segment strategy, actually only 2.49% was successful, but this is because, again, this needs a useless entry in the program headers, and that is quite rare. Okay, so only one more measurement we did was how much overhead in the size of the attack sequence is caused by this additional rule of generating only valid ARM instructions. It is actually only 2% more. So this is a really small overhead. So as conclusion, we see that the TLSH is unfortunately not secure if an attacker can freely modify a continuous region within a file. And the new result is that this is even true if they have some syntactic requirements. Like now, our example was generate only valid ARM instructions, but it could be like generate only printable ASCII characters or anything else. About my future work, so for now, I was mainly working on attacking these similarity digest schemes. Now I'm moving on to creating new schemes which are more robust against these kind of attacks. Okay, and we were founded Okay.